full day for the defense to present its case in the Steve Nodine murder trial.
Fox 10 News reporter April Douglas has been covering the trial since the beginning.
And she joins us live from Bay Minette with the latest. April?
Well, Bob and Lenise, Dr. James Lordson, a former retired chief medical examiner for the state of Alabama, he said from the beginning Angel Downs' death should have been ruled a suicide. Dr. Lordson said there is overwhelming evidence that blood found on Angel Downs' right hand proves she was holding the gun when she died. Now, this goes against everything that a prosecution's witness, Dr. James Downs, stated earlier in the week when he said that Downs' death was staged. The night she died, Angel Downs had Xanax, Ambien, alcohol, and an amphetamine in her system. The defense expert witness, Dr. James Lordson, said that is a reflection of a person who is not caring for their health or even a person who is self-destructive. Dr. Lordson said Angel Downs' death was a suicide and it should have been called that from the get-go. This is all in contrast to testimony given by Dr. James Downs, who said Downs was shot while she was sitting in her driveway. Dr. Downs also said the scene had been staged. He based his opinion in part on Angel Downs' fanned-out hair and a scratched button. Dr. James Lordson said the hair was not significant, and when it comes to the scuffed-up button on Angel Downs' skirt, Dr. Lordson said he can't make a determination on a manner of death based on the grooving of one button. Baldwin County District Attorney Judy Newcomb said Dr. Lordson based his opinion on the fact that the gun was left at the scene and it was a contact wound, which statistically happens in suicides. Newcomb said Downs is not a statistic. Now, Dr. Downs also testified earlier this week about defensive wounds found on the back of Angel Downs' hand. Well, today, Dr. James Lordson, he testified that that's not commonly where they find defensive wounds. They're usually in the palm of the hand from someone holding their hands up, and especially if it was a gun they're defending themselves, usually they'll find a gunshot through the hand or powder on their hands. But again, Dr. James Lordson, who testified for the defense, he said the most compelling piece of evidence that this was a suicide was the blood found on Angel Downs' right hand. Now, throughout this, the prosecution has contended that Steve Nodine showered after leaving Angel Downs that night, and they said he did that at Timber Creek. We will address that issue coming up at 5:30. But first, this, of course, is a story that is generating a lot of talk on the internet, and we are covering that for you. There is so much information on our webpage, fox10tv.com. Chastity Bird is in the courtroom tweeting for us and poses some questions to you about this trial. A lot of day of testimony, Chastity.
That's right, April, and a lot of the testimony today had to deal with suicide. In fact, the cross-examination of the state on the defense's forensic pathologist expert, it was said that most women commit suicide by overdosing rather than shooting themselves. That was heard in testimony today, and in fact, that's your question of the day on Facebook. We want to know what you think about the statement that women typically commit suicide by overdosing on medication as opposed to shooting themselves. Now, last night at 5 o'clock, the question we posted you was about shooting guns or hearing shots, and we wanted to know if you heard a shot outside of your home, if you would go out and check things out. Here's what some of you had to say from last night. We had Sharon Roy, who said, I would call the police and check outside to see if I could see what was going on. We also had Levon Fleming. He had this to say, I'd get my gun first, make sure my home was secure, and call 911. Of course, we're going to read the question of the day comments coming up a little bit later on at 5:30. And just remember, you can continue to follow us, me at Twitter at Chastity Bird, as well as April at fox10tv.com, and of course the updates on Facebook. We're going to come back just a little bit later on to read some of those comments that you guys have posted. For now, reporting live in Bay Minette, Chastity Bird, Fox 10 News.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll check back in with you later.